The Open Mic Broadcast Network would like to take this time to recognize its sponsors and underwriters: Attorney Lee Van Richardson, Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union, Prairie View Athletic Club, Temple of Refuge Ministries, Reflections Paint and Body Shop, Helping Hands Lawn Service, the Hotline Press newspaper of Hempstead, Texas, Diva Skin Conditioner, Purple Drip Daiquiri and Grill. For more information on how you can become an underwriter or a sponsor here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, our number to call is 832-213-8824. Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
This is Rob Butler with a little FCS football news. I'd like to point out that I'm 25-8 on picking these games this year. I was 5-5 last week, so we'll see what goes down this week. I'm going to start with the Southland Conference game of the week. McNeese is at Incarnate Word. That's Saturday at 11 a.m. That's at Benson Stadium in San Antonio. You can catch the game on ESPN+. Frank Wilson became McNeese's 17th head coach in program history back in January of 2020. The New Orleans native, who is widely considered one of the top recruiters in college football, spent 4 seasons as a head coach at UTSA before arriving on the McNeese campus. The spring season saw McNeese overcome obstacles and adversity from all angles and play its best football late in the season, winning 2 of its last 3 games. 2 of the losses on the season were by a combined 6 points. Eric Morris is in his 4th season as head coach at Incarnate Word. He has a career record of 16-16. That's 13-10 in Southland Conference play. In his 2nd year with the Cardinals, 2019, Morris guided the team to 5 wins, including 2 over ranked opponents. Those 2 wins on the road in consecutive weeks marked the first time Incarnate Word won back-to-back Southland Conference road games and the first time with consecutive road wins in program history. McNeese is 1-2 on the year. Now, McNeese couldn't have asked for a better way to start off their game against Southern last Saturday night. Mason Pierce took the opening kickoff 1 yard deep in the end zone and returned it 100 yards for the score and an early Cowboy lead. But that would be just about all the Cowboys would have to cheer about in the first half, as Southern built a 21-10 halftime lead. Things were much different in the second half as the Cowboys stormed back to beat Southern 31-24 in Baton Rouge. Quarterback Cody Ojon was 7-16 for 75 yards and a touchdown. Tulane transfer running back Stephon Hutterson ran the ball 23 times for 111 yards and a touchdown. Wide receiver Josh Matthews had 2 receptions for 15 yards and a touchdown. Incarnate Word is 2-1 on the year. Incarnate Word traveled to San Marcos and upset the Texas State Bobcats 42-34 last Saturday night. This was the first time in program history the Cardinals defeated an FBS program. Quarterback Cameron Ward led the team with 376 passing yards. Running back Marcus Cooper rushed 74 yards and had a 45-yard punt return. And wide receiver Robert Farrell had 10 receptions for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. Linebacker Kalichi Analabechi led the defense with 11 total tackles and a sack. Now here's my prediction. Incarnate Word will win this game and prove that they're contenders for the Southland title. Incarnate Word 38, McNeese 31. On to the Western Athletic Conference game of the week. Abilene Christian is at Lamar. This is Saturday at 6 p.m. It's at Provost Humphrey Stadium in Beaumont. You can catch the game on ESPN+. Adam Zarrell is in his 5th season as the 20th head coach in Abilene Christian football history. Hired on December 19, 2016 as a 3-time AFCA D2 Coach of the Year at Northwest Missouri State University, Zarrell has an overall collegiate head coaching record of 92-35 through 10 seasons. The 2020 Wildcats were one of only 15 FCS teams to play a fall schedule, and on October 31st, Abilene Christian won the 500th game in program history, defeating Mercer 20-17 on a walk-off 38-yard field goal by Blair Zapata. Lane Morgan was named Lamar University head coach December 12, 2019, becoming just the 3rd coach since the university reestablished the program prior to the 2010 season. In his first season, Morgan was tasked with guiding one of the youngest teams in the country, 57 freshmen, through the rigors of the conference schedule. Despite a depth chart that consisted of 35 underclassmen, including 21 freshmen, the Cardinals stunned the Southland Conference by finishing tied for 5th in the league after being picked last in the preseason polls. Morgan and his staff managed all this while guiding the program through an unprecedented pandemic. Now, Abilene Christian is 2-1 on the year. Running back Tyrese White ran for 103 yards, and junior wide receiver Kobe Clark rocketed up Abilene Christian's career receiving list to power the Wildcats to a 34-9 win over UT Permian Basin last Saturday night at Wildcat Stadium. Clark, a former walk-on, caught 9 passes for 92 yards and 1 touchdown and moved from 8th to 5th in career catches with 160 for the Wildcats. Quarterback Stone Earl was 17 of 24 for 143 yards and a touchdown. Defensive end Jordan Pop returned an interception 22 yards for a touchdown. He also had 3 tackles to go along with a sack. For Pop's efforts, he was named WAC Defensive Player of the Week on Monday. Now Lamar is 2-1 on the year. In a defensive slugfest, Lamar made just enough plays to pull out its first FCS win of the season by stunning Northern Colorado 17-10 in overtime last Saturday in Greeley, Colorado. The Cardinals defense held the Bears to 236 yards of total offense and just 84 yards on the ground. Quarterback Jalen Dumais completed 7 of 13 passes for 86 yards. Dumais' favorite target was wide receiver Eric Pizarro. He had 3 receptions for 66 yards. Running back Chaz Ward ran the ball 20 times for 77 yards, including the game-winning 10-yard touchdown run in overtime. Kicker Bailey Giffen was named WAC Special Teams Player of the Week. He had a game-tying 26-yard field goal with 6 seconds left to force overtime, and he averaged 42 yards per punt. Now, here's my prediction. These young Cardinals are much better than we thought. This program is already starting to turn around. Lamar wins this one 28-24 over Abilene Christian. Other games of interest, North Alabama is at Nichols. North Alabama lost to a tough Jacksonville State team 27-24 in Jacksonville last Saturday. Nichols gave the Louisiana Raging Cajuns all they could handle in the Colonel's 27-24 loss in Lafayette on September 11th. Nichols wins this game 38-20 over North Alabama. Sam Houston is at Central Arkansas. Southeast Missouri State was no match for the Bearcats on September 11th. Sam Houston crushed the Red Hawks 52-14 in Huntsville. Central Arkansas quarterback Braylon Smith threw 4 first-half touchdown passes in the Bears' 45-23 rout of Arkansas Pine Bluff last Saturday night. Sam Houston wins this game 37-24 over Central Arkansas. Now Lincoln, I've never heard of Lincoln. Lincoln of California is at Stephen F. Austin. SFA wide receiver Xavier Gibson recorded his second career 3-touchdown game in leading the Lumberjacks to a lopsided 58-13 win over Mississippi Valley State in Nacogdoches last Saturday. SFA wins this game 66-0 over Lincoln. And that's Rob Butler, Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Hey, it's that time of year again where you can win up to $2,500 in prize money by supporting Prairie View Athletics at the same time. All you have to do is register for the Prairie View Athletic Club annual raffle ticket prize giveaway. Simply dial 936-857-5817. $1,000 first prize, $750 second prize, third prize is $500, and fourth prize is $250. Call and register today, 936-857-5817. Prairie View Athletic Club, proudly serving Prairie View Athletics since 1986. That number again, 936-857-5817.
And welcome back to the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. This is the radio guy, Mike Prince. We have on the line with us head football coach of the Royal Falcons, Theodis Regan. Falcons came up a little bit short against Bowling on Friday night, but we'll allow Coach to give us a recap. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good this morning. How you doing this morning?
I dare not complain. Come up a little bit short, but sound like an exciting game. If you can, give us a recap on the Friday night event.
Well, actually, it was actually a really, really good game. Came down to the last minute of the game. They jumped out on us 13-0. Then we come back and we answer the score. We ended up going in halftime with a score of 13-0. No, 13-13. Sorry. Then they come back. They score 7 points in the third quarter, and we end up scoring 10 points in the fourth quarter. made the ball game. Guys played up to the last minute. 6 turnovers is hard to kind of defeat a good team having 6 turnovers in a football game. Them having 0.
Yes, sir. Well, 6 turnovers is hard, like you say, to beat anybody, and Bowling has had a history of a pretty steady program. What are you discovering about your team? It's always good to come out with good feelings and good points of direction with the win, but what do you gain from this loss this week, Coach?
I don't believe in any more victories, anything, but I do give our guys credit for standing in there fighting. They just recall last year playing against this Bowling team and with a score of 47-7 last year. So those guys are excited. They made a great improvement last year to this year. So I'm just excited about the direction of where we headed and the mentality of the kids that's in the program right now that continue to fight and continue to grind out in these type of games.
Yes, sir. I understand no moral victories, but you can say you do take some good out of this, which will prepare you for your next opponent. And who would that be, sir?
Our next opponent will be our first district game, and that'll be not this Friday, but the Friday after that against Sealy, down in Sealy. So I think that's going to be a big game and give us a week to prepare for them. So I'm excited for our first district game against Sealy.
Yes, sir. Now, historically, Sealy and Belleville have been somewhat of the big boys on the block, but I got a feeling that there's a new Falcon soaring in the atmosphere, and you guys are ready to bring the noise right now.
Oh, absolutely. I think those guys is ready for the challenge, and our goal is, not to be undefeated in the preseason, but to get some data and get some information to help us improve. And I think we improved a lot and learned a lot from our guys, and I think we're in a good situation going into this district play. Looking forward to seeing these guys compete.
We're talking right now with head football coach Theadis Regans of the Royal Falcons. Came up a little bit short against Bowling, but they'll get ready for Sealy in between a bye week. And, Coach, as we do each week, let's highlight some players on Friday night's performance.
We had Demarion Gibson again. I think he's probably averaging 2 touchdowns a game. He scored twice on yesterday. Antonio Page was also one of the key offensive players yesterday. But our whole entire defensive line and defensive unit played well. We came up with a few 4th down stops, had them turn the ball over on downs, and had some good red zone stops. But again, we came up short. But there was a lot of good things that happened throughout that ball game for the Royal Falcons.
Okay, and who would get the Falcon Pride Player of the Week, that unsung hero?
I would probably weak side linebacker Eric Lacona. He had a really great game. He's a junior, number 7, and he stepped up pretty huge yesterday on the defensive side of the ball yesterday.
Okay, very good. Well, Coach, we're truly excited about the atmosphere and I guess the culture change. That's the buzzword these days, changing of culture. And let me get your spin on that, Coach. When you hear the culture or the change of the culture, what does that mean to you?
It means a lot, but it just tell you that those guys are bought in. And we got the 5 pillars of what we stand for. That's commitment, that's pride, that's toughness, that's effort, that's discipline. When you instill those things in, the culture change, and those guys are starting to buy in. They understand the expectations, day in and day out. They understand what it takes to win. But now they also understand that if you lose, you understand the reason why you're starting to get these losses. You have to hold true to those commitments, the things I just spoke about.
Okay, well, very good, Coach. Keep on grinding and keep on doing what you're doing. Now, we'll get, a week off so you get a chance to double up for the Sealy Tigers. But if everything works out and the Lord delays is coming, we'll get together in a couple of weeks to get the recap on that Friday night action against the Sealy Tigers.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Look forward to talking to you after that game.
All right, Coach Theadis Regans of the Royal Falcons joining us on the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. 13 different locations to better serve you. Check them out today. I'm the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince, and we'll see you on the other side.
Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union has 13 different locations to better serve you. For more information, you can contact them on their toll-free number, 855-391-2149. Or you can send an email to information@bvscu.org. The station designed with you in mind, serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union Hotline. This is the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. As you know, we always try to bring you something on a unique part of our coverage here when it comes to athletics. And today we are in for an absolute treat. I have on the line with me right now, for some who may not be aware, but those who are aware of the sport of volleyball, I'm going to say young lady. This young lady needs no introduction. She's actually a living legend when it comes to volleyball, and that is none other than former volleyball coach, athletic director, Miss Betty Austin. How are you today, ma'am?
Well, how are you doing?
I'm blessed and highly favored, and I'm truly excited that we have you on the line with us today.
Oh, well, how nice of you to have me. I'm always so excited about anytime you can talk about, to be honest, any phase of athletics, but especially when we're talking about the sport of volleyball.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And it prompted me up. We're on the eve of conference play starting for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Of course, your loyalty will always be with your beloved Alabama A&M Bulldogs, and I understand that wholeheartedly. But as a whole, we both have a desired vested interest for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And with all that, yes, ma'am. And with all that being said, as we enter into conference play, overall as a conference, we are 16 wins compared to 116 losses, and Florida A&M happens to be responsible for 50% of those wins with 8. And the question that I would have to you, we know that the game has evolved to a degree, but has it evolved to the point that we're that far behind as a conference? When I look at the budgets, what is it that has such disparity between our conference and the others?
Well, I've been out of this business now for about 8 years, so I can really kind of undergo on what was kind of happening prior to my departure. And budget, which evolved into lack of staffing, which then lack of staffing off staffing also hurt you with regard to recruiting. Um, and recruiting is, both of us know, it's the backbone of your program. Um, the Division One, top Division One programs, when you look at probably the top 35, um, they are not a one coach staff or a two coach staff. It all starts with recruiting. When you're not getting a top notch athlete, and don't get me wrong, I have some good athletes, but we did very well in competing with our conference. We were lucky enough to maybe win one or two over a few years of playing out of conference schools on the Division One level. But your biggest problem came down to having just too much to do for a one staffer. Didn't have the opportunity to actually get out and visit the various club programs and see what they were doing, see what some of the high schools were doing. Basically, to be honest, recruiting that word of mouth by young women who had heard about our program and wanted to come in for a visit or come in for an official visit. Just a good example. We are not recruiting for 2022. The top Division One schools have already signed in 2022 are getting all of their commitment to 2022. They're into 2023 and 24. So when you have 5 or 6 staff members who can actually go out and do that, it automatically gives you the upper edge. And so I believe the majority of it, it's really boils down to your budget, which, as I said, trickles down to having enough staff to actually get out and get the players that you really need to very well, as I said. But the minute we won our conference championship, and we were always going to be put against the top three, one, or 10 when it came to the NCAA playoffs. And so, in my opinion, when I was competing against a top 10, in my program, that was not competing against the top 1. And so that's what my observation has been. I don't think it has anything to do with staff or coaches who don't know what they're doing. I think we have some very good coaches in the SWAC, SIC, MEAC. We have some very good coaches. But having that budget, having that staff that can actually get out and help you recruit the type of players that you need. Now, it also depends on what your coaching philosophy is. It was never part of my coaching philosophy that I went up and played Penn State or if I played the University of Florida. But it was going to make me better. That's just not a part of my philosophy. Whereas I admire those schools, my philosophy is I always want to place my kids in a position where I thought they could at least win. I wanted them to be in a situation where they just weren't. I wanted them to compete with the understanding that if you go out and compete the best that you can, you stand a chance of winning. And so when I look at the number of losses that a lot of schools already have leading up to conference play, I have to wonder as a former coach, and I don't understand. I don't know what those other students are getting out of it. I'm not being critical of it. I just don't know how that has really enhanced what our student athletes will do once they go into conference play. I hope it will pay off for them, but that was just part of my philosophy.
We're talking right now with legendary volleyball coach Miss Betty Austin, former Bulldog, and you spoke of earlier that it's been 8 years since you were last in the business of coaching. What was your budget your final year, Coach? And I know we probably don't know what it is now because of the way things are going. But what was your budget then? And then my second part about it, when it comes to the overall look of our programs, our girls compared to other programs, they look athletic, but we're missing in that height. And I know you can't overcompensate or teach for height. So does that mean you have to change your philosophy to be more of a defensive-based program that is focused on digs and focus on being in the right position versus the attack and the outside approach?
It has a little bit to do with it, but I'll be honest with you. I don't care how good your defensive team is. When you're coming up against those teams who are 6'3", their front line. I never will forget when the first time we played the University of Arizona in the NCAA playoffs. I had one girl that was 5'11", and the University of Arizona had maybe 9 girls starting 6 or was 6 feet tall. And so you can change your philosophy and working on different angles, working on how to pick up what shot is going to come across court or that shot is going to come. But they're so tall for the most of it, where they're usually very quick. I'm not saying that they're not. You have to also develop a part of your philosophy. In my opinion, you got to hit the weight room. There are so many coaches. I don't say there are so many, but there are some coaches who don't have weight strength coaches. And they not have weight. I don't say they don't have it. They may not have weight strength coaches. But if you are already in a situation where you don't have these real tall players, you're exactly right. You've got to focus in on other areas in which way you can be stronger. So you have to make some changes, but it's very hard. But right now, these schools who have played so many big schools out of conference play, they've come up against some really good programs. And I just looked at who Alabama A&M has played. And Alabama A&M has played a lot of schools, the larger schools. And then when we played the University of North Alabama, who are just moving up to Division One, in the area that we're in, then we can't beat them. That's a little disappointing to me, although I know University of North Alabama has had a great volleyball program for years. And so you have to change your philosophy. But I would say one thing: coaches, they're doing what they can do. They're still going at it. They're still encouraging their athletes. If you can do this, you can do that. And all I can say is this: I'm just hoping that the day will come where we can get some of those athletes who are going to the top tier Division One programs. I'm hoping that we can get in a position where we can get some of those same players.
Okay, and before I go to that next part, do you recall what your budget was when you were last coaching?
I really do not recall what my budget was. I just remember that part of my salary came out of my budget, but I really don't. It's been about 8 or 9 years, and then my last 6 years at the university now, I was not the volleyball coach. So I just really do not remember what my budget was. I'm sorry I can't give you that figure, but I don't recall.
No problem.
I don't recall that.
No problem. Now, we know with the advancement of the 21st century approach, the transfer portal and all of this NIL stuff, can you see that being a potential game changer for our conference and getting players to come on to the other side, if you would, to help offset some of these struggles that we're having?
No, I don't know whether that will happen in volleyball. I really don't. Football, basketball, in my opinion, they're a little different. They have, in many times, they have somewhere to go once their collegiate career is over. In volleyball, this is the school that I'm attending. This is where I'm going to graduate. Once volleyball is over, I'm done with it. And whereas you want to get good players who transfer student athletes in many cases, you don't want disgruntled athletes. I love so-and-so because the coach wouldn't play me and that type of thing. So it might help the sport of volleyball, but I'm going to be honest with you. I'm just not certain if that will help the sport of volleyball.
Okay, what will?
What will? Just being able to compete in the recruiting process. I'm going to be honest with you. Being able to compete, keep working hard, trying to use those contacts, parents who also see the value of an HBCU and wanting their children, former alums of the university who have children, sending those children back to the HBCU. That's what it's going to take.
It takes a village to raise a child.
That is correct.
We're talking again with Betty Austin, former volleyball coach at Alabama A&M, and the challenge that we're faced up against in the sport of volleyball. Volleyball is a very passionate sport. It's an elegant sport when it's played properly and truly exciting and fast-paced. When you look, do you get a chance to watch any matches of late, Coach?
Oh, yeah. I have not seen any of our conferences play, but, I've watched some volleyball on TV. Matter of fact, I watched one the other night. I was trying to think of who I was actually watching, one that was televised.
Where you were watching Utah play against Washington?
Yes. Yeah, I saw Oklahoma play somebody, but you're right. It was Utah versus
And then you saw Nebraska and Northwestern play each other.
Yes.
Yeah, we were watching the same thing, man. We were watching the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what kind of struck my chord a little bit. I'm watching these young women compete, and as I say, I love volleyball, and I'm going like, why can't we have some of that same level? Now the intensity is there, and when we're playing amongst each other, it's there. But it's when we step outside of that SWAC element or that HBCU element, even when we're playing conferences that I feel like we should be even more compatible with, the Southlands, the OVCs, the I won't say the Sun Belt because they're a little bit up, if you would, but the Missouri Valleys and the other conferences that I think that we should be on par with, the MEAC. Those are ones that I'm mainly kind of honed in on at this point because we do understand your Power 5 programs are going to be your Power 5 programs. They're there for a reason. Okay, but I'm talking about across the board. I would love to see a little bit more bite in our competition.
Well, you know, I don't really know what to tell you as to what it's going to take any more than I can say. Recruiting. I know, I truly believe that we have good coaches in the SWAC. We have good coaches in the MEAC. I played against, I competed against several MEAC teams. Lost a few, but won more than I lost in the MEAC, you know. And so, it's just hard work. It's just that philosophy and getting your kids to buy into the philosophy of the what you have. But let me tell you something. It's a lot of hard work. I mean, when I first started coaching volleyball for years, not only did I coach the sport of volleyball, but I was teaching 2 classes. I was driving my team to a competition, driving my team back to competition. It's almost unheard of now.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. Well, look, we're in the same era, Coach, because I played under the same coach. I used to be one of the van drivers for my baseball team. So, you know, I understand how it's a totally different world right now. And you pull the coaches out of the classroom so they can focus on just coaching their sport. And I'm not knocking any of the coaches at all. I'm trying to figure out, yes, ma'am, I'm trying to figure out what is that missing element? Because we have come a long way. We have pulled the coaches out of the classroom. We do assign other things such as driving to it. And for the most part, when I go back to these conferences that I've just mentioned earlier, your Southlands, your OVCs, your MEACs, they're coming across the same challenges that we have. 1 or 2 coaches, the same amount of budget. But then when we get on that court with them, and not just volleyball, but it could be football, it could be baseball. We're struggling against these, what I feel are conferences that are right in our neighborhood. That's what I'm trying to find out, what's that missing element.
I don't have an answer for you. All I can think of is, I'll go back to my original statement. Being able to get that top player, being able to get that player and make that player understand. Look, I'm asking you the very same thing as the OBC is offering you. They're offering you a full scholarship. I'm offering you a full scholarship. You run up against some parents who actually believe, you know, I don't, if they got a better education, if they go to University X as opposed to going to Alabama A&M. Whereas you are showing these people, because you have to submit your graduation ratio to your recruit. So you don't see that I'm graduating my kids. I'm showing you the number of kids that I got who have PhDs. I'm showing you the number of kids who leave Alabama A&M and then graduate school. It's very, very hard to convince some parents that your child is going to be well taken care of. They're going to get a full scholarship. They're going to get uniform. They're going to get food. It's just, and so it's all about, in my opinion, in many cases, you got to change the mindset of the student athlete. You well as their parents.
Well, it sounds like it sounds like the bottom line is a cultural thing.
Yes, yes.
And when it comes, if it's a cultural approach, then it's a mental approach.
Yes.
And referring back to sometimes people that other believe that other folks' ice is a little bit colder than your ice.
Yes. There you go.
Wow.
Well said.
Well, with that being the challenge, I guess it's going to always create what we call job security.
Yes.
And so we're going to have to ever keep working to change that narrative.
Yes.
Wow.
No doubt about it. I certainly do. I just realized I was going to be talking to you about volleyball, but I certainly appreciate you having me on this evening and thinking enough about me to want to talk with me. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Well, you know what? The same is here. It's a mutual feeling, and I definitely want to keep you on the hotline, if you would, to be a part of our volleyball conversations, if you're open to that.
I sure will. I'd love to.
Yes, ma'am. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, we were just blessed with Miss Betty Austin, and I always, whenever I hear the name Betty, and no disrespect, I always want to say Betty Wright, because you were the Betty Wright. You were the Betty Wright of volleyball, as far as I was concerned, and I don't mean that in no disrespectful way. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us on our Brazos Valley Schools Credit Union hotline. And you be careful, be safe, and we'll be talking to you real soon, okay?
All right, you too. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Have a blessed day.